Hey guys, I'm back with a new video. In the previous video we learned about the push, unshift, shift and pop mutator methods to basically work with our arrays. So in this video let us understand about the slice method. So with the slice method what you can do is you can make a copy of your original array and then you can work with the array, the copy of the array, and then when you make some changes the original array is not affected. You are working with the copy. Once you are done with your copy in the form that you want the copy to be, once it is done, then you can commit the copy back to your original array. So this is how you can make a copy of your array using the slice method. So we can have many methods that we can use on arrays. In this video we'll focus on the slice method. So I will create a new array and name it as engineering degrees. So I'll say const engineering degrees, and I will say CSE, which is computer science engineering, electronics engineering, mechanical engineering, and electronics communication engineering. Okay, so what I will do is, for making a copy or a shallow copy of your original array, you can say console log engineering degrees, and you can use the slice method on the array. So this will return as a section or basically a shallow copy. You can understand it's just a normal copy that you get for your original array when you use the slice method. And you can also extract a particular section of the elements from your original array as well using optional arguments, which we will discuss a bit later. So let me go back to my browser to see the output for this. So back in my browser you can see we are getting 4 elements, which is this array, and this is not the original array, it's a copy of the original array, a shallow copy. Okay, so let us proceed further. So back in my Visual Studio Code, now what I will do is, so as you can see, this is a very decent way of copying the elements of the array. If you remember, arrays in the end are objects and therefore reference types, as we had discussed in an independent series on JavaScript Objects. So if you haven't checked out the series on JavaScript Objects, the link for that can be found down below this video. Now we know that arrays are reference types. So what if I define a constant and name it as degrees and assign the engineering degrees constant to it? So let us see. I say const degrees and I will say engineering degrees. Okay, so engineering degrees, and what it does is this basically assigns the original array and to the degrees constant. So the degrees is basically a pointer that is pointing to some location in memory where the engineering degrees is residing. So engineering degrees is basically allocated to some chunk of memory in the heap. Now the degrees is a reference, or you can say a pointer that is pointing to that location. Okay, so whenever you change the engineering degrees, you modify, you make a mutation or on your engineering degrees, the degrees will also get affected. So what I can do here is, I will try to make a mutation on our degrees. So I will say degrees dot push, and I will add, say, a degree name changed, and what I will do is I will log the engineering degrees to the console. So console.log engineering degrees. Now do you expect that engineering degrees will be mutated in this case? Okay, let us check the output. So as you can see, the engineering degrees got changed because we were assigning the engineering degrees indirectly using a reference. So if we work on the reference, we mutated the reference which was assigned to the original source, which in this case is engineering degrees. Since the reference got mutated, the original source also got mutated. Okay, so what if I do this? If instead of just assigning engineering degrees to the degrees constant, if I assign the copy instead, so instead of that I assign a copy. So now what will happen is the engineering degrees is basically sitting at some memory location. Now what we are doing is we are not making the degrees reference point to that location. Instead, we just created a new copy of the original array. That copy will be defined at some memory location, and degrees is now pointing to the location at which this copy is sitting and not to the original source. Okay, so here degrees is pointing to the copy and not to the original engineering degrees. So let me check the output for this. Now here also we are getting the same thing. Since now what happened is the ECE is your last element in this case. Okay, and if I log the degrees to the console, now this will get mutated. Okay, you can see this. So this is engineering degrees, which is unmodified, nothing got wrong here, and in this case you have a new element changed. Okay, so only the reference got affected in this case and not the original source, because we cloned the original source. Okay, and the degrees is basically referring to the copy and not to the original source. It's as simple as that. So this is how you can make a copy, and then you can work with the copy. Once you are done with the copy, you can assign it back to the original source as well. So let us move further. So now you must be wondering what is the reason behind this. Now this is because arrays are reference types. Whatever you store in the degrees constant is just a pointer at this place in memory address of the array. Okay, so it is degrees constant is storing just a pointer to this memory location at which engineering degrees is sitting. Now what if we change the array by using a mutator method like push as shown above? Well, in that case it still points to the same memory location when we had the earlier case when degrees was pointing to engineering degrees. Okay, so if you made a change in your degrees reference, the original source also got mutated. But here we are working with the copy, and this case is unlike the one that we had discussed earlier. So this is where slice method can help us, because it returns us a shallow copy of our array. Now we will discuss about the concept of shallow and deep cloning in later videos. I do have a separate video on shallow and deep cloning in JavaScript Objects. The link for that can be found down below. And if you can see on logging, these two arrays were different, because as you can see we are working with a copy. Here in case of degrees we are working with a copy and not the original source. That is why they have to be different. So degrees got a brand new copy of engineering degrees and is at a different address than one on which engineering degrees is sitting at. Therefore it will not mutate the original source. Okay, now what if I want to access a particular element? So you can use the slice method for accessing a single element as well and selecting a range of array elements. So as we know, using single base direct index access, we can select an element from the array. Like if I want to select the second element, I can simply say engineering degrees, and in the square braces I can say 1 to access the second element. Now what if you want to select a bunch of elements of the array at the very same time? I want to select the first 3 elements, okay, of the array. So which are these? CSE, EE and ME. I want to select these 3 elements. For that I can simply say console.log engineering degrees dot slice, start from the index 0, which is the start index, the current index, and I want to end at the index 3, which is exclusive. So what it will do is it will start from the left end, will pick one element, then it will pick another element, then one more element, and it will terminate at the index 2, because we are not interested in getting the 4th element, which in this case is the element that is sitting at the index 3. We only want the first 3 elements, the elements starting from index 0 to index 2, because the end index in this case is exclusive. Okay, so let us see the output for this. So back in my browser, you can see we are getting the first 3 elements logged to the console. So this returns us the first 3 degrees, which includes the first one and excludes the fourth one, which is at index 3. So because we know that indexing is 0 based, using ranges, as you can see, we can get a part of an array. Also, it does not select in the reverse direction. So it doesn't select in reverse direction. That means your n index should be greater than or equal to the start index. Though you can have negative indices for both. Means if you want to use negative indicing, your start index and n index should be negative, and they both should be negative. But then both have to be negative, as I told you, if you want to basically slice in reverse direction. That is, you want to select from right end. So if you want to select these 2 elements, then you can say slice -1 to -3. Okay, -3, because the reason behind this is that -3 represents this element when you look from the right end, and we don't want to include it. Therefore we have to use -3 as the n index, means that it is exclusive. Okay, so this way you can select these 2 elements by saying slice -1, -3. Okay, so this is all about negative indicing. And now if you want to start from a particular index and go till the end, you can just specify the start index and you can omit the end index. Let me show you this. So what I want to do is, I want to select all the elements starting from index 2 till the last element. So slice start at 2 and simply omit the end index. So let us see the output for this. Back in my browser, you can see we are getting the last 2 elements. Okay, so let me show you what it actually does. So it says please start slicing from index 2. Okay, so we go at index 2, and at index 2 we found ME, and we will go on slicing till the end. So we picked up ME and then ECE, and we realized that the array is over. So now we have these 2 elements and we just made a copy of it. So we are not mutating the original array. As simple as that. So this selects all the elements starting from the index 2 up all the way to the end. So this was all about the video on slice operation. In the next video, we'll learn more about methods using which we can find elements in the array and their indices as well. And then we will move forward to higher order methods. So if you are loving the content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys in the very next video. I do have separate playlists on each and every topic that you might be interested in, so do check out that as well.